Hello, my name's Kieran Byrne. I want to take a few minutes to show you why people come to us for some advice. And the best way to do this is to do a little diagram known as a lifeline. It shows what happens in most people's lives, like maybe yours and my own life, and it shows that the need for insurance is from an early age. So if you just take a few minutes and watch what's going on this very basic page, you'll hopefully get a bit of an idea of what it is we're trying to achieve. So, most people start working between age 16 and 23. And what we've discovered is that 16 to 23, their income starts off low, and over the years it grows up quite nicely. When they reach 40 to 45, instead of their income continuing on just as well as it used to, it starts to taper off a wee bit. This is because they've reached probably the top of their profession. They're the vice principal or the chief shop steward or the shop senior manager or something like that. Wherever they are, they're at the top of their profession. Or in all honesty, they're probably sick of doing overtime and they just want to take a bit of time off. So their income tapers off a wee bit. So in the early years, a young person starting off, the first thing they'll probably do is they'll start to do a bit of savings. Then, as soon as they've got a few pounds saved together, they'll probably want to go on the odd holiday. They'll have their normal living bills. And then, as they get a wee bit older, they'll probably buy a house and take on a mortgage. Possibly, along will come a partner, and then if that's the case, along will come kids. That's most people's lives between sort of maybe late 30s in a lot of cases. In some cases, maybe early 20s. When you reach 40 to 45, what you discover is that the biggest cost that you have is your children. The next biggest cost is your mortgage, and then naturally your normal household bills will come along on top of that. You probably haven't a whole lot of money left for holidays, and you probably have a wee bit of money set aside for savings. So that's where most people's lives go. So my role is to do a couple of things. One is to provide you with life cover. The reason for that is wherever you are on this particular little diagram here, if you were to die, in most cases the mortgage would be paid off. But generally that's usually the only thing that is cleared. So that leaves the children still needing to be fed, the household bills still needing to be paid, and your partner still needing to exist. So that's the very simple reason why we would offer people life cover at any age. Now this is going to sound a bit callous, but if you die, you're no longer an expense. If, however, you're still alive but having a critical illness or having a major sickness, you've now turned into, sadly, a burden on the family. So that's why we provide income protection. And income protection basically replaces as much of your income as we can possibly replace. Usually you can get around 60 to 65% of your taxable income replaced. So imagine a situation where you're sitting at home, your partner's out working, your children still needs lifted from school or whatever, and all that you're doing is A, boiling the kettle, and B, adding up the cost of the house. If you are in a medically poor situation, your partner's going to have to take time off work to go and take you to hospital and the likes. So that is why income protection is a very, very vital thing to have. Now, in fairness, we use it in so many situations, like people who have broken legs to broken arms and the likes, but it's also for the long-term debilitating stuff, and it can cover you right up to age 67. But it's an excellent product to have. And then the third product we put in is critical illness cover. Critical illness cover will pay you a lump sum if you suffer from a heart attack, a cancer, a brain tumour, multiple sclerosis, a vast range of situations. So in a lot of cases, whenever I'm setting up a mortgage for someone, we'll do their life insurance and the critical illness together, which in the event of something going wrong, that wipes out the mortgage. But I also put the income protection in as well, because just because the mortgage is paid off, the children still are a cost, the bills still need to be met, the car still needs to be run, hence the reason for doing a combination of all these different insurances together. And then the fourth thing we talk about now is, because sadly the way the NHS has gone and it's getting more difficult to get access to treatment, we talk about private healthcare. Now this reaches out and takes many forms, but the net result is, in the simplest way, you want to make sure that if you do have a serious or critical illness or something seriously going wrong with you, instead of being stuck on a long waiting list, that you'd have some element of access to a private specialist in whatever field is required. So that's a very, very brief overview of what it is we do. Hopefully you don't need half of these things, but what we suggest you do is sit down with one of us and get a bit of an education, so that if a time comes and you do need someone like ourselves to step in, well, we're here and you know a little bit about what we do.